Got a Civic in the shop. This is the one that overheated and blew the head gasket, and Uncle Dave's gonna fix it for free. So let's get to it. Now, in order to fix this head gasket problem, here's a new part. We're gonna go with a head gasket kit from Felpro. They make good stuff. We got brand new head bolts. These are made by SKP, and we're gonna put some new spark plugs in there. Now, that's in addition to a brand new radiator and hoses and a complete timing belt package, and that was just to get the vehicle running so we could see how much more damage was done. But I believe a head gasket will go ahead and fix it. When I did this head gasket before and I filmed it, we used a bunch of new parts, all Honda or almost all Honda. This time we're going aftermarket. We're just trying to get this thing fixed. The owner, who's a family member, they don't have any money, so Big Dog is basically paying for this repair so I can get them back on the road again. So that's why we're going with aftermarket, and we're just going with the bare basics, try to get this thing running. Well, there's the head gasket out of the vehicle. You see a smoking gun? Well, the only thing I can see is right here. It's beat up a little bit. But other than that, I mean, it doesn't look too bad, but a lot of times it's hard to see where these things are blown out. But we know from our testing it was the #1 cylinder right here, so I'm going to say that this was probably our culprit right here where it went out. Alright, everything's cleaned up, ready for a new head gasket install. Honestly, the hardest part of this job so far was getting the intake gasket off that manifold. It was basically welded together and they became one. So it definitely took a lot of work to get that thing off, but now at least we're ready to put everything back together. Head gasket's installed, everything's back together, just bleeding out the cooling system. It sounds pretty good. Certainly sounds a lot better than when that timing belt was melted all together into that timing cover. Another way I could tell that the head gasket was blown, after the vehicle would warm up, inside the coolant reservoir, I would sit there and look at it, and I could see bubbles coming up consistently. You could just see bloop, 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 like that. Basically, that's combustion gases getting past our blown head gasket, getting into our cooling system, getting over to our radiator, coming through and into our reservoir, and coming out the hose down at the bottom. Just like you blowing air through a straw down in the bottom, you could just see it consistently bloop, bloop, bloop coming up. Now this vehicle has been heated and cooled a couple times, and it's not doing that anymore, so that's a good sign that our head gasket problem is fixed. I'm going to drive this vehicle over the next few days, put it through the paces, you know, do some heat up and cool down cycles, and see how it does, and I'll let you know. Just got done recharging the AC system. When I was running the vehicle, I noticed that the AC compressor was making a decent amount of noise, and it seemed like it was struggling a little bit. I think that it got so hot, because this is the area where it really got hot, it probably cooked the bearings in there. Luckily it didn't explode, so it didn't blow gray matter through our system, so I didn't need to clean out the whole system and replace everything. But Grandma insisted that the AC work on this car, so I went ahead and put a new AC compressor in there. And while I was in there, new condenser, new receiver dryer, and I noticed that that engine mount was broken in two, so I replaced that. So we got all that stuff fixed. It's blowing in the 40s now. It's ultra quiet, so it sounds really nice. Of course, we got the entire timing belt package with new belts and water pump and all that. New spark plugs, new filter, new coolant, and a new radiator, new hoses. So this thing, well, it's looking a lot better than it was. I don't know how many more times I can bring this back from the dead, but at least right now it looks like it's going to survive and live another day. Been driving this thing around for a bit, putting it through the paces, and it's been driving good. No issues, no check engine light, no overheating, no coolant loss, nothing like that. The registration was expiring, and that means it needed an emissions test, so I took it down, passed emissions no problem. So Uncle Dave went ahead and paid for 2 years on the tag. So the registration's good now. I went ahead, cleaned it up inside and the outside, so everything's looking good now. you know, if I needed a vehicle to get to work or school or something like that, I'd have no problem driving this thing. So you know what, let's go ahead and see if there are any trouble codes. I went ahead and did a complete system scan on this car, and although we don't have very many modules on this old thing, we don't have any trouble codes, so that's good. Let's take a look at our emission monitors, and it looks like they've all run and passed except for that evap. There's a good possibility I just have not driven the vehicle under the correct circumstances and conditions for that evap test to run, but that's the only one that has not set right now. So all in all, it's looking pretty good. Got the vehicle warming up. Went ahead and printed out a driving pattern for the evap system, at least the code setting criteria to set a P1456. We'll take it out for a spin, see if we can't get this evap monitor to set. Alright, this thing is fully warmed up, running good. Let's take it out for a spin, try to get that last emission monitor to set. And after doing a proper drive cycle for our evap system, we can see that our monitor is now set and complete. All green check marks everywhere. No DTCs, no pending DTCs. This vehicle is good to go. Here's a look at some of the old parts that I had to replace to get this car back to where it is now. Now, I cut these belts off because I knew I was gonna, you know, replace them with brand new ones, and it just makes the job a little bit easier. This timing belt, after it went through what it did, it wasn't long for this world. It's lucky it didn't break, because that could have done some damage to our pistons and valves. But luckily it held on. Of course, I cut it to get it off. There's what's left of our back timing cover. Not much. And then our lower timing cover. It definitely got kind of chewed up and melted. Same with the upper timing cover. It was... had to kind of pry that thing to get it off. We got some oil seals I replaced. Of course, our tensioner was pretty much shot. The water pump was definitely shot. I don't have the radiator and the hoses here anymore. Those are already gone, but of course I replaced those, and that was the cause of the original thing, I think. There's the AC components that I replaced, and the engine mount was pretty much toast. I saw that and I'm like, okay, we'll go ahead and replace that seeing as we're in there. And here's a look at our old blown head gasket. I don't know if you can see it. I got it kind of cleaned up. This is number 1 cylinder. I'm pretty sure that that's where it's blown right here. Maybe a little bit right there. You can make an argument for maybe some other areas too. But I think, you know, on our testing, we knew that the number 1 was blown. So I'm pretty sure that that's our bad area right there. And possibly this piece right here too. But in any event, it's blown, and sometimes, you know, it can be hard to take the head gasket out and look at it and be 100% definitive and, you know, where it was blown. But through our testing, we know that it was blown, and after replacement, just based on no coolant loss, no bubbles in the coolant reservoir, things like that, we know we got it fixed. Almost forgot. I had to replace the window regulator on the driver's door too, because that thing went out while I had the vehicle. Well, that's it for this one, and as always, if the video helped you out, you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.